Some footballers let their feet do the talking, others shoot their mouths off. Meet the most savage trash talkers in football history. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. As a teenager, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was on the verge of becoming a gooner until Arsene Wenger made a big mistake. While playing for Malmo, Ibrahimovic was highly praised for his performances. Several major clubs around Europe wanted to sign him, and right at the front of the queue was Arsenal. So Wenger decided to invite the 17-year-old to Highbury for a trial. It's 2 decades later, and he still regrets that decision because when Zlatan received the invite, let's just say he wasn't happy.
"I turned him down," Ibra said. "Zlatan doesn't do audition."
And this was just the beginning because Ibrahimovic has been outspoken for his entire career. When John Carew suggested Zlatan's flicks and tricks were pointless, he replied,
"What Carew does with a football, I can do with an orange."
But this doesn't compare to what Zlatan's sharp tongue did to Pep Guardiola. He called his former manager a spineless coward. Frustrated with not being deployed properly, he raged at Pep. "You bought a Ferrari, but you drive it like a Fiat." Now Ibrahimovic is 40 and still has his foot on the gas. As the man himself once said,
"I think I'm like wine. The older I get, the better I get."
Jose Mourinho. Managers talk smack, and that's nothing new. But in 2015, Jose Mourinho took savagery to a new level. Rafa Benitez's wife once said her husband was used to cleaning up Mourinho's mess, and she thought Mourinho would let that slide.
"The lady is a bit confused, with all respect. The only club where her husband replaced me was at Inter Milan, where in 6 months he destroyed the best team in Europe at the time. If she takes care of her husband's diet, she will have less time to speak about me."
But that's not all. Mourinho was slamming everyone in sight. He labelled Arsene Wenger a specialist in failure and mocked Claudio Ranieri's English.
"He was in England for 5 years and still struggled to say good morning and good afternoon."
The worst part is Mourinho doesn't just fire shots at opponents. Sometimes he sets his sights on his own players. Just ask Luke Shaw.
"Shaw had a good performance, but it was his body with my brain,"
Mourinho once said.
"He was in front of me and I was making every decision for him."
Sergio Ramos. Everyone knows that Sergio Ramos would do anything to win, but you'll be shocked to know exactly who he's prepared to insult in the heat of battle. The game in question took place in 2020. It was Real Madrid versus Inter in the Champions League, and both teams were desperate to win. So when Ramos felt an opponent was faking an injury, he wasn't happy.
"Get up, you son of a bitch. Your mother is a bitch who gave birth to you. Stop screaming like a rat."
The crazy part is the opponent was Achraf Hakimi, a player who'd shared a dressing room with Ramos just 2 years earlier. And this wasn't the only time Ramos threw shade at a former colleague. He once shouted at Martin Odegaard,
"I shit on your whole mother."
"Oh, he seems nice." Roy Keane. Representing your country at the World Cup is every player's dream, but this wouldn't stop Roy Keane from mouthing off to his manager. In 2002, Ireland held a pre-tournament training camp in Saipan. Everyone was having a great time, apart from Roy. The thing is, he wasn't impressed with the training facilities. In fact, he was so unimpressed he decided to quit. The Ireland manager, Mick McCarthy, tried to stop his captain from quitting, and that's when Keane told him how he really felt. "I didn't rate you as a player. I don't rate you as a manager, and I don't rate you as a person. You can stick your World Cup up your ass." McCarthy wasn't the only victim of Keane's brutal put-downs. The Manchester United captain had no issue telling his teammates, past and present, what he thought about them. He called Dwight Yorke a clown. Teddy Sheringham was dismissed as a bluffer. Then, in the middle of a training session, Keane told Rio Ferdinand, "Just because you paid £120,000 a week and play well for 20 minutes against Tottenham, you think you're a superstar." The man even turned on Man United's home supporters. Keane felt they weren't vocal enough at Old Trafford. They have a few drinks and probably the prawn sandwiches, and they don't realise what's going on out on the pitch. Joey Barton. Joey once tried to slander one of the world's best footballers. Unfortunately for Joey, the response was more cutting than his original insult. Throughout Barton's career, he was the bad boy of English football. He was always getting into trouble on and off the pitch, and there was nothing he hated more than finding out you haven't subscribed to Nonstop football. So come 2013, there was great hype around Neymar, and Barton decided to start some trouble. He called the Santos star the Justin Bieber of football. Good on YouTube, but cat piss in reality. He insisted he wouldn't even pay 40 million for him. However, Neymar's reply was magnificent. He could have unleashed a verbal attack on Barton. Instead, he simply said, "I don't know who he is." Neymar wasn't the only Brazilian that Barton insulted. He called Thiago Silva a pussy, a ladyboy, and fat boy. He was happy to slam his fellow countrymen too. Barton labelled Everton's interim manager David Unsworth as a glorified PE teacher and said he was baffled when England appointed Gareth Southgate. Gerard Piqué. Now, it's no secret that Gerard Piqué isn't too fond of Real Madrid, but the extent of his trash-talking will surprise you. Piqué spent the majority of his career at Barcelona. He was born in the city and is a supporter of Catalan independence. So it's only natural that he doesn't like Real Madrid. But it's not just on the pitch that Piqué likes to wind up Madrid's players. In 2018, he revealed he'd created a WhatsApp group where his Barcelona colleagues could talk to their rivals at Madrid. Piqué loves to trash talk in person too. While Luis Suarez was playing for Atletico Madrid, Piqué called him fatty. But trolling Barcelona's biggest rivals has become his favourite hobby. In 2021, Marca, a daily sports newspaper, asked Madrid fans what number Kylian Mbappé would wear at the Bernabeu that season. When the transfer fell through, Piqué tweeted, "It's number 7, in reference to Mbappé's number at PSG. Diego Maradona. Of the players in the GOAT debate, Maradona is by far the most controversial, and you can forget Hand of God, some of Diego's trash talk will make you fall off your chair. His favourite victim was Pelé. The two legends bashed each other for years. When Pelé criticised Argentina for appointing Maradona as manager, Diego said, "Pelé should go back to the museum." And when Pelé said Messi would never be as good as he was, Maradona responded that old age is affecting his thought process. Then doubled down when Pelé remarked that Neymar was better than Messi by saying, "It seems Pelé took the wrong medication." Michel Platini's another footballing icon familiar with being slammed by Maradona. Platini is French and he thinks himself as being more than the rest of the world. "I've never paid him any attention, and I won't do it now." Maradona was never afraid to speak his mind to the media either, even as a manager. After Argentina qualified for the 2010 World Cup, he let them have it. To those who did not believe in us, and ladies forgive me, they can suck my... well, you can probably guess the rest. Thanks, Diego. Brian Clough. On his first day as manager of Leeds, Brian Clough did something extraordinary. Everyone was surprised to see Clough replace Don Revie. He'd been highly critical of Leeds in the past, and Revie was his arch nemesis. On his first day of training, the Leeds players expected Clough to tell them to forget his previous criticism. Oh, how wrong they were. Instead, their new manager doubled down. "The first thing you can do for me is throw your medals in the bin because you've never won anything fairly. You've done it all by cheating." At Derby and Nottingham Forest, Clough was such a massive trash talker, Muhammad Ali told him to stop because he was threatening the boxer's reputation as the biggest talker. Clough was such a clever trash talker. He once borrowed one of Ali's famous lines and used it as an insult. Referring to West Ham attacker Trevor Brooking, Clough said, "He floats like a butterfly and stings like one too." No, butterflies do not sting, but Clough's trash talk always did. When asked about himself, his response was, "They say Rome wasn't built in a day, but I wasn't on that particular job." Dani Alves. Jose Mourinho fancies himself as the king of trash talk, but in 2011, Dani Alves gave him a taste of his own medicine. It happened after the Champions League semi-final between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Both legs were extremely ill-tempered. Barcelona won 3-1 on aggregate, and Alves just had to dig at Mourinho. "People talk about him as if he invented football," Alves scoffed. He didn't. Since then, Dani was let go from Barca, but has recently returned for the 2022 season. This doesn't change the fact that he's still salty the club sacked him 6 years earlier. As soon as Alves had the chance to speak on the club's directors, he said, "They didn't have the balls to admit they were wrong to let me go." And then came his "I told you so" moment. During his time in Paris, the right-back slammed his PSG teammates for not listening to him, despite his vast trophy-winning experience. Perhaps you should listen to someone who's already gone through this and base yourself in their experience. I've already won everything, and I'm talking about what I've experienced and learned. Based on PSG's recent Champions League finishes, they did not listen and they did not learn. Craig Bellamy. Now, it's never wise to mess with a club legend. Imagine a Tottenham player insulting Harry Kane or someone at Man United slagging off Cristiano Ronaldo. But Craig Bellamy never cared for reputations. When playing for Newcastle, no one questioned Alan Shearer. Well, no one except Bellas. After being loaned out to Celtic, the Welshman sent Shearer a text telling him his legs had gone and that he was past it. Shearer texted back to tell Bellamy he'd knock his block off if he ever set foot in Newcastle again. Then at Liverpool, Bellamy also tangled with John on Ariza. The two men argued after Ariza refused to sing karaoke on a night out. Bellamy screamed in his face, "I'm gonna kill you, you ginger rhymes with shunt." And it got worse because later that night he tried to attack Ariza with a golf club. Bellamy sure takes his karaoke seriously. Bellas was a loudmouth well into his 30s, and with his track record it should come as no surprise that at Manchester City he regularly insulted Robinho, Elano and Glauber. He accused the three of forming a Brazilian clique. Bobby Robson once called Bellamy the gobbiest footballer I've ever met. We don't doubt it. Marco Materazzi. Marco Materazzi tried to wind up opposition players every week, but in 2006 he was at the heart of one of the most dramatic incidents in football history. It was the World Cup final between Italy and France. Zinedine Zidane had just given France the lead with a penalty, but Materazzi came back with the equaliser soon after. There were 10 minutes of extra time left to play, and that's when it happened. Materazzi tried to get inside Zidane's head. The defender had been pulling Zizou's shirt all game long, so Zidane told him he could have his shirt after the game. I guess Materazzi wasn't really interested because he replied, "I'd prefer the whore that is your sister." The red mist descended and Zidane planted his head firmly into Materazzi's chest. The Frenchman was sent off and Italy won the World Cup on penalties. Sometimes the villain does prevail. What other trash talkers would you add to the list? Subscribe and drop a comment below.